With Mars on the move, the Martians can't be too far behind.
That's right. Mars is on the move. Mars is leaving the sign of Virgo, where it's been for 6 weeks, and going into the sign of Libra. And Mars is the planet of ego-oriented projection. It's where you project things out into the world. It's where you put your passion in. For 6 weeks, that's how long we'll give a project before we go, okay, I've had enough, it's time to go on to something else. It's in the sign of Libra, so for Scorpio, the sign that we're in, this is in their 12th house. They have to be really, really careful, Scorpios have to be, because with Mars in their 12th house, they tend to talk without thinking. They create enemies out of perfectly good allies, and they get very, very defensive when Mars is behind your sun, and not a lot will come out of it. So they have to be particularly careful, because they have very sharp tongues, to have a care with their words, because for 6 weeks, you don't want to fight people unless you absolutely have to. For Sagittarians, this is a great placement for Mars. It's in their 11th house of hopes, wishes, goals, and objectives. And Sagittarians are going to put forth a Herculean effort over the next 6 weeks to reach for the brass ring. They're completing a year and a half worth of activity as far as going for professional success, and they should achieve it over the next 6 weeks or so through the help of their well-placed male friends rather than female friends. For Capricorns, it's in their 10th house of career and public standing. The last 6 weeks, they've been like preparing for a debut, putting their stuff out there, seeing how it plays. And now they find out what the bosses think about their efforts. So over the next 6 weeks, there's a big effort put forth to achieve professional success, for good or for ill, but the bosses will decide at the end of 6 weeks. For Aquarians, this is a great Mars placement for them because they get to reach a broader audience with their words. They've been spending the last, I think it's so funny because Jeb Bush is an Aquarian, they've been spending the last 6 weeks reinventing themselves, trying to profoundly transform themselves, and now they're going to take that show on the road and see how it plays in Peoria. So
far, it hasn't been playing too well for Jeb.
I think of anybody who should be really looking forward to that change. And it's good news about legal, educational, and important matters at a distance for Aquarians. For Pisces, it's about spending a boatload of money on unanticipated expenses. This is not so much where you're spending money and going, yay, I'm getting a new fur coat out of it. It's like, yay, I'm spending money and I'm rehabilitating something that I'm not even going to see a difference with it. So that's the drawback to that. And they have to be sure that they get what they pay for. For Aries, it's in their 7th house of partners and open enemies. And partners are going to be making demands out of Aries, and their professional image is going to come into play as well. They have to be careful, because when Mars opposes your sign, it's like everybody pointing at you. So it's kind of a mixed bag for them. For Tauruses, and I feel so bad as I say this for poor Pat, it is 6 weeks of nonstop work. Not particularly gratifying, just hard, nose to your grindstone, get it done, slog on through, old-fashioned hard work.
Well, it'll be gratifying for her because it's Christmas wish, but the work is going to be there.
The work is definitely going to be there, and it's going to take its toll on them. For Geminis, it's their favorite time of year. They love this time because it's a good time for entertainment, sports, amusements, pleasures, fun, frolic, festivities, pregnancies, all kinds of fun things. It's a very fertile and fun time for Gemini. For Cancers, not so much. It is in their 4th house of home, and there's something new that will be dredged up over the next 6 weeks or so that the Cancer needs to bring to the light of day that changes things at home one way or the other. And I think it is going to be a fairly positive change, but they shouldn't be afraid of whatever it is that they unearth. And they have to be really careful. If they decide they're going to transform their home, to make sure they know where the load-bearing walls are before they start knocking stuff out. For Leos, the pace of their day-to-day living picks up to warp speed, to where there will be no rest for the Leo at all over the next 6 weeks or so. It is, and they have to really work to stay ahead of the power curve, because there's going to be one thing on top of another, and they
Christmas wish time.
No dawdling, just no dawdling. Also, a good time for contracts and negotiations and reaching out and getting an effective compromise. For Leos. For Virgos, it's about spending a ton of money on stuff they want to spend a ton of money on. So that's a good thing. They make money, but they also spend it, and they want to beautify their home, themselves. Anything that comes in contact with the Virgo is what they want to beautify. And then for Libra, Mars is in their sign, so they are really, truly fired up. Fired up and ready. It's a brand new 22-month cycle for them to project their ego out into the world. The gloves are off, and they are really going to be very, very vocal and adamant about having things their way. So that's tomorrow's news today for the 12 signs of the zodiac, with Mars entering the sign of Libra.
Not bad news. We'll see you next week.
Always a pleasure.